Part 136. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1351. Warcraft. Zuyun's first reaction was those giant monsters in the deep sea. According to the monks in the spiritual world, the cultivation methods of giant monsters in the deep sea are different from the cultivation methods of monsters on land. Demon cultivators on land will inevitably experience the calamity of the demon saint. After successfully surviving it, they can choose to practice as a human being or continue to practice as a demon cultivator. But the giant monster of the deep sea can continue to practice until the law of heaven cannot tolerate the strength of the giant monster of the deep sea, and finally let it break through the air and go away. And obviously, this is very similar to the characteristics of Qingping Fairy Kingdom's monsters. In addition, Xiaolu told him that the Duanxian River was directly connected to the Wild Sea, and he also entered it by mistake. It can be seen from this that the deep sea giant monster is most likely a warcraft. Even if not, there is still an inescapable relationship. However, for many years, the giant monster of the deep sea has not had any relationship with the human race or other demon cultivators. It seems that the deep sea spiritual world passage in the mortal world is controlled by the giant monster. Old man Wan, Zuyun turned to look at Wan Potion and said, "Have you ever heard of the deep sea monster hurting people?" Wan Potion shook his head and said, "The giant monsters of the deep sea are huge, and they don't seem to like to leave the deep sea, and we humans are even less likely to go deep into the sea and have any conflict with them. Moreover, as far as I know, the monster cultivators in the sea, and don't want to deal with those giant monsters. It can be seen from this that the giant monsters of the deep sea are warcraft." Zuyun pondered for a moment and said to the immortal emperor, "Perhaps the Duanxian River is connected to the sea area, so it is possible that those warcraft arrived from the Duanxian River Wild Sea." The immortal emperor gave a bitter smile and said, "We can't go down to the broken immortal river at all. Even if we go down, it will consume a lot of pseudo-immortal power, and we can't last long in it. Even if it is connected, we can't find the connection." Zuyun nodded, "This is true. However, he has not yet figured out why the water from the Duanxian River corrodes the immortal roots. He also went deep into it, and cutting off the immortal river water would not have any impact on his spiritual roots. Let's talk about this later. Ahead is Tianweishan, and when we reach the depths of Tianweishan, it's Kunlun." Zuyun was only thinking about Linyu at this time and wanted to get the Blood Moon immortal artifact before him. However, the problem now is how to enter the secret realm of ascension. But he is not worried. If they cannot enter, then Linyu will certainly not be able to return, and naturally he will not be able to cause trouble to the spirit world. 3 people and 1 boat flew rapidly, and soon flew into the outer sky. Strange, how did the sky outside become the earth? Watching Tianweishan fall on the ground, Wan Potion couldn't help but look strange. Zuyun smiled and said, "Yayang's son also took a hammer and smashed 5 elements Sanren to death, triggering countless immortal thunders, and then Tianweishan fell to the ground." "Yayang's son? So strong." Wan Potion's expression was extremely ugly, and the immortal emperor also looked at him sideways. He also knows Yayang, the initiator who turned the Qingping Fairy Kingdom upside down. And 5 elements Sanren is a figure of the same generation as Wan Potion. Wan Potion also has a clear understanding of his strength. Yes, not only did it knock down Tianweishan, but it also destroyed the immortal platform. Zuyun curled his lips, but Wan Potion's face was extremely ugly. "Damn it, I originally thought that if I didn't have the chance, I would break into the Xianxia terrace. Now you tell me, the Xianxia terrace is gone." Zuyun was speechless and asked, "Old man Wan, you originally wanted to enter the immortal platform. Aren't you talking nonsense?" Wan Potion curled his lips and said, "Even if I am as powerful as Yayang, I don't have Yayang's evil wife. Without Qiu Linjian, Yayang, who has no spiritual roots, it is extremely difficult to break through the shackles and ascend to the immortal realm. To put it bluntly, I have no confidence. I came here for the immortal stage. I want my middle-grade spiritual root to break through to the high-grade spiritual root, just like you and the immortal emperor are riding on me. Same thing on the head. Zuyun was stunned. What do you mean? Wan Potion rolled his eyes at him and blew his beard. It's more men than men. Zuyun couldn't hold back and laughed out loud. You still have the nerve to laugh, Wan Potion said helplessly. Boy Zuyun, it seems that I have to go back to Qingping Immortal Kingdom. In the Immortal Kingdom, I still have hope, but there is no pseudo-immortal power in this spiritual world. It is impossible for me to break through to the high-grade immortal root. If this trip ends, you and I will leave. Zuyun shook his head and said, Senior Wan, you are also a swordsman, how can you just retreat in the face of difficulties? I am self-aware, Wan Potion said angrily, knowing that there is little hope. What am I still doing here? Moreover, because I don't have pseudo-immortal power, I feel that my longevity is draining, and I don't know that the immortal emperor, do you feel it? After speaking, he looked at the immortal emperor. The immortal emperor nodded and said, Indeed, my lifespan seems to be limited. I think I can only live in this spiritual world for 1,000 years at most. It may be what 10,000 immortal friends said, and it has nothing to do with pseudo-immortal power. Zuyun thought for a while and said, What if, he has the immortal crystal on his body? Xianxia. The two of them immediately thought of Barren Rock Mountain. In the fairy crystal, there is pure fairy power, which our bodies may not be able to bear. The immortal emperor denied it. In their original plan, before ascending, they took some immortal crystals with them and brought them to the immortal world for use. But now, it has become a bit difficult to even ascend to the immortal world, so it is natural to have such thoughts. Zuyun thought for a while and said, Old man Wan, you don't have to worry. At least there is still the escape route of Qingping Immortal Kingdom. No big deal, it's over here. I'll go pick some fairy crystals for you and take them back. You can go back and take care of yourself. Once you are done cultivating, go to the spiritual world from the teleportation array and see if you can trigger the catastrophe. That's all it can do. Wan Potion rolled his eyes, at least there was still hope. Okay, let's talk about this later. Let's go to Kunlun first to check on the situation. After a long time, they finally came to Kunlun. Looking at the mountain that was completely different from the surroundings, the flying boat stopped. The immortal emperor looked at it with great interest. At a glance, he could even guess that the canyon under Kunlun Mountain was the foreign fairy mountain that their fairy country said. If it weren't for the thick clouds and mist, he would have even wanted to rush down. If I remember correctly, it seems that we have to go further into the ascended immortal secret realm. Wan Potion searched his memory and said, Yes, we still have to go in. Zuyun nodded, shook his head and pointed to the distance. Where was the Jidan sect? Can the immortal emperor feel anything? There's something familiar about it. The immortal emperor followed Zuyun's finger and looked over. His eyesight was not strong, and Wan Potion relied more on his memory. Yes, Jidan sect, the sect that everyone in Qingping planet once shouted for beatings in your mouth. They are also collecting smoke soul powder. According to my guess, they may have the means to enter Qingping Immortal Kingdom at any time. As soon as these words came out, the immortal emperor's expression changed. If they can control the Jidan sect, it will be much easier for them to enter and exit the spiritual world in the future. Although the teleportation array can be driven through immortal crystals. But the secret realm of ascension to immortality has not yet been opened. They want to go through the teleportation array in the misty mountains and forests every time they come to the spirit world. Spending fairy crystals is a trivial matter. After all, there are countless fairy crystals in Xianxia Mountain. But there is no pseudo-immortal power in the mortal world. If they want to control some pseudo-immortal boats, it will not be an easy task. After arriving in the spirit world, the pseudo-immortal power in them slowly dissipated. Friend Zudeo, should we go over there, or? Zuyun shook his head and said, we don't know what is going on with Jidan sect now. And to be honest, it's not convenient to take you two with us. It's better to resolve the matter of MOU sect first, and then talk about it. But don't worry, even if I am alone, I will also find a way to find out the secret of the Jidan sect. This kind of sect that uses people to make alchemy, should not exist in the world. Zuyun unconsciously revealed a murderous aura, thinking of the alchemist in the Five Elements sect. Just when he was about to fly the flying boat again, a figure suddenly flew out of the mountains and forests that still belonged to the sky. The figure was surrounded by golden light. In the past, when Zuyun saw this kind of golden light, he would at most think it was gold spiritual power. But with the experience of Qingping Fairy Kingdom, he vaguely recognized this golden light. More like a darker pseudo-immortal power. Before the golden light arrived, the shout had already reached everyone's ears. Zuyun, Zuyun, it's me, please get me on board. Hearing this familiar voice, he was extremely sure that this was the one he accidentally buried in the mountain, Qin Tianji. But when the immortal emperor is here, he should be called, Ji Tianqing. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1352. Zuyun stopped. He wanted to see how Ji Tianqing would react when he saw the immortal emperor. According to what the immortal emperor said before, Ji Tianqing seems to be a descendant of the immortal emperor's Ji family. However, there is still a problem. He had always thought that Ji Tianqing was in the period of transcending tribulation, and the rumors from the outside world also said the same. But thinking back carefully at this time, Ji Tianqing didn't seem to have demonstrated any abilities other than fortune-telling. It is enough to show that the little Ji mentioned by those demon saints is somewhat scheming. But not much. After landing on the flying boat, he saw two people beside Zuyun. He didn't take a closer look. Since he was with Zuyun, he was obviously not an outsider, so he just said directly, "This is your true body, right?" Zuyun narrowed his eyes and said, "If you have something to say, if nothing else, get out." Ji Tianqing looked embarrassed and said, "Actually, I met your incarnation." He came out of the Ascension secret realm and went back to Xianguang section. He asked me to see you and let me tell you some news. You met my incarnation. Zuyun was stunned, thinking that Ji Tianqing had encountered the fire incarnation who had let him leave in the first place. Yes, incarnation. Ji Tianqing touched his head and said, "Now that I see you here again, you must be your true body. I asked about your incarnation, and I don't know what you did in it, so I've been staying here forever, but I finally met you." Zuyun thought for a moment and said, "Old Ji, you failed to tell me what would happen in the secret realm of Xianxia." Ji Tianqing was mysterious at that time, and Zuyun didn't have time to ask questions later. Later, he committed suicide and buried himself. From then on, he parted ways with the wooden incarnation, but he never noticed it. That's it, I want to go home. There is no hope of ascension here. I can only go home. I can only know that the opportunity appears in your body. When I meet your body, I can go back. We're there. Can you take me to the secret realm of Xianxian again?" Zuyun was shocked and looked at the immortal emperor unconsciously. Ji Tianqing also looked after him, then with a look of disbelief on his face, he knelt down and shouted, "Ancestor!" Now, it was Wan Potion's turn to look weird. The immortal emperor has lived long enough, and he knows it. But judging from appearance alone, Ji Tianqing is much older. But he didn't say anything. Even Zuyun, including Zuyun, could figure out the relationship with just a little thought. In the spiritual world, because there is no pseudo-immortal power, their longevity will be lost. This is the biggest difference from Qingping Fairy Kingdom. Get up. The immortal emperor waved his hand indifferently, then turned to look at Zhu Yundao. We happen to be a little worried about how to re-enter the secret realm of the Ascension Immortal. Since Tianqing has a plan in mind, I think I have a way. Zhu Yun also reacted and said, let's go then. We really intend to return to the Qingping Immortal Kingdom through the Ascension Secret Realm. If he could enter the Immortal Ascension Secret Realm again before Lin Yu, then he would definitely grab the Blood Moon Immortal artifact. When the time comes, no matter how strong Lin Yu is, she won't be able to make any waves in the spiritual world. With the power of Huang Mingxing's moonlight alone, she can still hold a dragon. Great, Ji Tianqing was extremely excited. All he did was seek to ascend, but after accidentally arriving in the spirit world, the loss of lifespan and no increase in strength made him gradually panic. Ancestor, why did you come out of the immortal kingdom? Ji Tianqing asked with a shy face. You can come out, why can't I come out? He just dealt with it casually and said, but you haven't said yet how you got out. Ji Tianqing left Qingping Immortal Kingdom without a trace, and the Immortal Emperor did not find any clues. The flying boat had taken off again, and Ji Tianqing said sheepishly, back then, I met people from the Jidan sect in the Fairy Mountain Canyon, and then I was knocked unconscious and taken away by them. After thinking about it, it seems that the Jidan sect has a way to enter the fairy land. As soon as these words came out, Zhu Yun and the other three were shocked. They have had such speculations, but they have never seen the Jidan sect's method to lead to the Qingping Immortal Kingdom. So, you have been trapped in Jidan sect. Zhu Yun thought of the rumors in the spiritual world. Yes, Ji Tianqing said quickly, the affairs of the Immortal Kingdom are of great importance, so I don't dare to talk nonsense. After arriving in the spirit world, because I can help them tell fortunes, the Jidan sect spared my life, and, I was still promoting my reputation thousands of years ago, saying that I could tell fortunes so that I could establish good relations with some sect forces and increase the mystery of their Jidan sect. Then why were you expelled this time? Zhu Yun had the memory of Mu incarnation, which reminded him of what happened to Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing said angrily, I don't know the specific situation, but after learning that the Ascension Secret Realm would be opened half a year in advance, they may have felt that I was of no use, so they kicked me out and warned me not to say anything. I can't reveal any secrets about my true identity. Maybe the three ancestors have put a restraint on me. Because of this, I don't even dare to leave Tianweishan. Zhu Yun pondered for a moment and said, then how have you maintained the state of transcending the tribulation period in these years? He remembered correctly, Ji Tianqing could teleport. Moreover, it can also release the aura of transcending the tribulation period. However, it makes sense that he doesn't have the posture of transcending the tribulation period. There is nothing we can do about this. Ji Tianqing looked at the rapidly retreating Kunlun mountains below and said helplessly, after staying for a long time, the body will adapt to the conditions here, and in Jidan sect, there will be some pseudo-immortals from time to time. The power leaked out, so I was able to force myself to tell fortunes every now and then. Fortunately, I brought some beads out back then, so I could save some before they were prepared. With that said, Ji Tianqing took out a few fake fairy beads from her arms, which made Zhu Yun a little surprised. Pseudo-immortal beads can indeed store pseudo-immortal power, which the great knight Immortal King once told him. It is not a secret in Qingping Immortal Kingdom. Zhu Yun, the Immortal Emperor called softly, and after seeing Zhu Yun looking over, he said, it seems that Jidan sect definitely has a way to directly enter the Immortal Kingdom. That's right, Zhu Yun said in deep agreement, but for now, we'd better solve Lin Yu's problem first. Xiaoji, Wan Potion wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, why don't you lend us a few of your fake fairy beads first? If you can return to Qingping Fairy Land by then, does your ancestor give you some? Both Wan Potion and the Immortal Emperor were troubled by the lack of pseudo-immortal power. At this time, there was still some pseudo-immortal power flowing in Ji Tianqing's beads. Although it was not much, it was better than nothing. Besides, Ji Tianqing doesn't have much fighting power. On the other hand, if they have pseudo-immortal power, especially Wan Potion, it will be helpful to Zhu Yun. Give it to him. The Immortal Emperor said that he knew Ji Tianqing's concerns and agreed with Wan Potion's opinion. Ji Tianqing no longer hesitated and gave all the pseudo-immortal beads to Wan Potion. Zhu Yun smiled and said, "It's a pity that I can't use the pseudo-immortal power. Otherwise, it would be better to make some preparations in Qingping Immortal Kingdom earlier." He still had some blank beads on his body. He originally planned to instill some chaos power into them, but he didn't have time to do it, and returning to the spirit world was a bit unexpected. "It doesn't matter," the Immortal Emperor said with a smile, "this bead can actually instill spiritual power, as long as it has the same level of power." Zhu Yun was stunned for a moment by these words, and then he said happily, "Even spiritual power? Of course it is possible. The bead is just a carrier. As long as it does not exceed the bearing limit of the bead, it is naturally possible. However, it would be a bit wasteful to use it to instill spiritual power." Zhu Yun knew that the Immortal Emperor was referring to the spirit beads, and it was enough to have spiritual power with the spirit beads. And the level of this bead is obviously higher than spiritual power, so it may be feasible to infuse chaos power into it. But at this time, Zhu Yun also had a bold idea. So, what about the power of faith? The power of faith. The Immortal Emperor and Wan Potion looked at each other, and then shook their heads in unison. Zhu Yun was a little disappointed, but the Immortal Emperor raised his eyebrows and said, "Zhu Yun, the power of faith is higher than the power of pseudo-immortal. When you return to the palace, you should be able to understand it after reading the fairy book. Some believe in the Great Road and achieve success in cultivation, achieving breakthroughs in one fell swoop. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1353. Then thank you, Immortal Emperor. Zhu Yun thanked him and responded, "Yes, obviously I have a higher level of power to study, so why do I need to think so much? Furthermore, it seems that he doesn't have much power of faith to collect and use now. From what he saw, he probably needed to find a way to refine it. Otherwise, it will be difficult to use. Before that, he still needs to focus on the power of chaos. After all, once the chaos power is purified to the extreme, he can still use the effects of immortal power. It's just not lasting enough. And this problem can be solved by raising the realm. I almost lost sight of the other. Cultivation should be done step by step, and don't aim too high. You have some talent," the Immortal Emperor said with a smile. "Lao Wan and I are counting on you for our path to immortality." After saying that, he put away his smile again and said, "Having said that, if the passage between the two worlds can be opened, you can go back and forth at will. Zhu Yun, I plan to join forces with you to destroy the Jidan sect." "Oh." Zhu Yun and Wan Potion raised their heads at the same time. Wan Potion didn't know what Jidan sect represented. "You told me about the problem of Yan Hun powder, and I also told you that Qingping Immortal Kingdom prohibits smoking of Hun powder. In the world, only sects like Jidan sect can use Yan Hun powder. So, the Jidan sect must be eliminated, and you mentioned the Yan Hun powder, presumably because the Jidan sect used the soul refining powder to make pills." "That's right." Zhu Yun didn't mention it at the time, but after the Immortal Emperor guessed it, he would no longer shy away from it and said bluntly, "I once saw the Jidan sect destroying an entire sect with smoke and souls." Door. Smoke soul powder will not only affect the immortal roots, but also destroy the spiritual roots. So, Jidan section, I'm afraid the plan is not small. Immortal Emperor's eyes suddenly flashed with light, and he said, now, Xiaoji and I don't have much fighting power, but you and Lao Wan do. Otherwise. Zuyun trembled and said, you mean, kill the Jidan sect now? Yes, but I don't know the current situation of the Jidan sect, but the Jidan sect must also know something about the secret realm of Xianxia, so every time it is opened, they will definitely go out in full force. If so, among their sects, it is just right at this time empty. Moreover, we can also take the opportunity to find their way to Qingping Fairy Kingdom. This proposal is very tempting. Zuyun was once invited to set up formations for Jidan section. The reason is that monks above the Yuanying stage of Jidan sect will go to the secret realm of Shengxian. To say that I am not moved would be a lie. But right now, what Zuyun is more worried about is Lin Yu. The Demon Moon sect was once a great scourge to the Qingping Immortal Kingdom. If Lin Yu succeeds and the Demon Moon sect has a stable source of Blood Moon power, the spiritual world may not only be devastated. He didn't think much and directly rejected the Immortal Emperor's proposal, saying, assuming everything goes well, we destroy the Jidan sect and also find a way to the Qingping Immortal Kingdom. But the problem is, after we enter, we can also go smoothly returning to the Jidan sect. Outside the Immortal Mountain, countless immortals go to collect medicine every year, but no one disappears for some reason. As the mayor of Duxian town, Lao Wan should know this, right? Wan Potion nodded immediately and said, yes, it is quite safe in the Immortal Mountain. In the past thousands of years in Duxian town, more immortal people have died from the tide of beasts. Not a single one has died in the Immortal Mountain. Of course, except for people from the Demon Moon sect who enter the Immortal Mountain. Zuyun continued, the Immortal Emperor and the Jidan sect must be destroyed, but not at this time. And as far as I know, their powerful monks should all be in the secret realm of the Ascension Immortal. We kill those little monks, and there is no what's the meaning. The Immortal Emperor looked at Zuyun blankly, and heard him continue, let's destroy Lin Yu first, and if we can successfully come out of the Ascension Immortal secret realm, we will then kill the Jidan sect. If possible, in the Ascension Immortal secret realm, it's not impossible to sneak attack on their powerful monks. Even. Zuyun's eyes sparkled and he said, if it can lead the monks of Jidan sect and Moyo sect to kill each other, that would be perfect. After hearing this, the Immortal Emperor was already convinced. Okay, if you are careful, then everything will be done as you say. One day later, the flying boat had already arrived at the entrance to the Ascension secret realm. At that time, they entered it and were surrounded by a fairy light. But at this time, there was no fairy light. Instead, there was a whirlpool halfway up the mountain. From time to time, some monks flew out. There are people in every realm. But their expressions were all sluggish, and they all let out a sigh of relief after landing. Xiaoji, can we go in? Zuyun looked at Ji Tianqing. You can come in, but, you need this thing. Ji Tianqing took out a black magic weapon from her arms. What is this? Zuyun squinted his eyes, not seeing what material it was made of. This is what I discovered by accident. When I came to the spirit world, the secret realm of immortal ascension was opened several times. I also later discovered a certain connection between the secret realm of immortal ascension and the immortal kingdom, so I couldn't find the way back. In this case, I paid attention to the Shengxian secret realm. This can offset the suction force in the entrance. Of course, the suction force from the inside out is the opposite force. Can't feel our presence. Zuyun didn't bother to worry about it, as long as it could be used. This kind of magic weapon is not suitable for all secret realms. No rush, let's find out what's going on inside first. Zuyun stopped Ji Tianqing from using the magic weapon and stared at a Yuanying Qi who had just flown out. With a sweep of his spiritual consciousness, the Yuanying Qi who was about to teleport was too frightened to move. Dare I ask which senior it is? I'm so polite to you. Zhu Yun's figure flashed and appeared in front of Yuanying. This is a middle-aged man. Except for some scars on his face, his whole body is covered in blood. He frowned and asked, what happened in the secret realm? Senior, Yuan Yingqi was shocked when he saw Zhu Yun was so young. After saluting, he took off his storage ring from his hand. In the secret realm, everything was in chaos. Almost everyone lost. If you lose your sense, you will kill people when you see them. The lower your level, the more affected you will be by the moonlight. Kill them all like crazy. The younger generation just happened to have a few talismans for purification from his ancestors, so he escaped in a hurry. Senior, this ring is yours, please accept it and give me a chance to survive. As he said that, he actually knelt down in the air. Zhu Yun frowned and said, is there anyone crazy in here? He was vaguely disbelieving. Not only had he seen many low-level monks before, but now there were also some young monks who had formed pills or even built foundations and escaped. The killings are crazy, Yuan Yingqi said with a bitter smile. Some black-robed monks kill everyone they see, regardless of the reason. There are also a group of people who set fire to everyone they see. Even the juniors saw some supreme powers. They were all chased by these two groups and fled in a hurry. Zhu Yun knew clearly in his heart that the black-robed monk belonged to the Demon Moon sect, and the one who set the fire. It is very likely that he is from Jidan sect. But hadn't Jidan sect plotted Yan Hun San a long time ago, and would anyone who had taken these pills be controlled? Is it possible that there is a more powerful backup force? By the way, senior, seeing Zhu Yun not accepting the ring, Yuan Yingqi suddenly remembered something and said, there are also two sword cultivators, one male and one female. The male specializes in killing these two types of monks, and the other female they also kill everyone they see, even ordinary monks. Could it be that Zhu Feng and Xianxia? No, Xianxia is not a swordsman. But Zhu Yun was puzzled, but there was no doubt that the secret realm of Xianxia was completely in chaos. I don't know if it will affect his collection of the Blood Moon Immortal artifact. Let's go. Zhu Yun waved his hand, and nascent soul Qi, as if he had been granted amnesty, kowtowed a few times to Zhu Yun in the air, took out a few pills and stuffed them into his mouth, and then teleported away quickly. Returning to the flying boat, Zhu Yun looked extremely solemn and said, Xiaoji, give me this magic weapon. And, Immortal Emperor, please stay too. Why? Ji Tianqing and the Immortal Emperor said in unison. It's all a mess inside. I'm afraid I won't be able to keep an eye on you after I go in. Zhu Yun told the truth, he was still in the stage of becoming a god after all. As for Wan Potion, there are a few fake fairy beads, plus he is a sword cultivator, and he was also in the tribulation stage before. If he budgets carefully, he can help. Zhu Yun, don't underestimate me, the Immortal Emperor said with a cold expression. If he really died in the secret realm, I would admit it. But, Xiaoji, you should stay outside and wait for us. News. Ji Tianqing immediately smiled bitterly and said, Ancestor, Zhu Yun, I can't help you much by staying here, and, won't it be too dangerous? Zhu Yun raised his eyebrows and said, since you dare not stay here, then I will give you this flying boat, and you can go to Xianguang sect and find my fire incarnation. Fire incarnate. Ji Tianqing suddenly came back to her senses. Zhu Yun, didn't you come out of the secret realm as the incarnation of water? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1354. What you encountered was the incarnation of water. Zhu Yun also opened his mouth wide. After he separated the water incarnation in the Kunlun Canyon, he was never contacted again. Have you found a way out? For a moment, he was extremely excited. Does this mean that the water incarnation knows the passage to and from Qingping Fairyland? If so, things might go much smoother. He focused his eyes, looked at the immortal emperor, and said in a deep voice, "In this way, you two go to the immortal light section. If the water incarnation comes out, you will definitely go there." Shui incarnation did go to Xianguang sect, but due to the distance, Zuyun could not feel his presence. It just so happened that the immortal emperor and Ji Tianqing went to the immortal secret realm, but it had no effect. "Zuyun, are you letting your incarnation come over?" The immortal emperor calmed down and said, "Yes, if there is no problem, my fire incarnation is also over there. Let the two incarnations wait for me outside Kunlun Mountain." At this point, Zuyun thought of something again and said to Ji Tianqing, "You guys go find Hu Chang. Although Yaoang Valley is destroyed, they should still find a valley nearby." Ji Tianqing nodded and said, "I can figure out where Hu Chang is." "Then where can we meet?" "Can." Zuyun looked excited and left the flying boat behind, flying towards the vortex with one potion in one hand. "That's it, let's go to the Ascension secret realm first." This is undoubtedly good news, and Zuyun can't wait to go to the secret realm of Xianxia. As long as he seizes the Blood Moon immortal artifact, comes out of the secret realm, and joins the water incarnation and fire incarnation, then everything will go smoothly. After passing through the vortex, they return to the secret realm of Ascension. Something's wrong, something's wrong. Not to mention Zuyun, even Wan Potion discovered that the secret realm of Xianxian was filled with murderous intent. At this time, there were still many people coming from all directions, wanting to leave the Ascension secret realm through this vortex. When they discovered that Zuyun and Wan Potion were coming from outside, they just took one more look and then flew away on their own. "The light of this blood moon seems to be much thicker than when I left." Zuyun looked up and saw that the sky was darker and the blood moon was redder. And in the direction of the moon demon ruins, you can also see a long blood moon curtain rising from the ground. Like a sky bridge, it connects the ruins to the blood moon. "Don't worry about whether it's right or not, go over there first." Zuyun rushed over there, but heard Wan Potion say, "What I said was wrong is that the power of the blood moon is somewhat similar to Yang fire." Zuyun suddenly stopped and looked at Wan Potion, and what he was more concerned about was whether Wan Potion could control the power of the blood moon. If it is feasible, it is undoubtedly good news. "Don't look at me like that," Wan Potion smiled calmly and said, "I can use this power, but if ordinary immortals use it, they may go crazy. And I am a sword cultivator, so I can naturally get rid of the evil spirit in it." Zuyun suddenly realized, then smiled, and said, "Yes, you are Wan Potion." "Ha ha ha," Wan Potion laughed and said, "Boy Zuyun, as long as I have the power, I, Wan Potion, will never put anyone in my eyes." Boundless arrogance. Zuyun showed a mischievous smile and whispered two words, "Ya Yang." Wan Potion's face froze, and he gritted his teeth and said, "You brat, Ya Yang is not a human being now, he is a real immortal." The two of them rushed towards the moon demon ruins while bickering like this. However, half an hour later, they met several monks. There are 5 people in total, wearing the same standard clothes, and they are all in the God transformation stage. Use the spiritual fire in your body to form a wall of fire, trapping several monks of different realms inside. Jidan sect. Zuyun's pupils shrank and he stopped. He could recognize it even from a few miles away. Jidan sect? These people are not worthy of being human. A flash of red light flashed across Wan Potion's forehead, and the pen immortal root emerged, but because he commanded the power of the blood moon in the air, this color also appeared. "There's no rush," Zuyun quickly grabbed him and said, "Let's take a look at the situation." The nascent soul stage said earlier that this is not a force like the Jidan sect. As soon as he finished speaking, Wan Potion sniffed his nose sharply, his face darkened, and he said, "There is the smell of smoke. It seems, you are right, those monks who were besieged must have also taken drugs containing smoke. The soul-dispelling elixir was then used by them. Then you tell me, why are they besieging the monks here?" Wanpotion shook his head, expressing his ignorance. At this time, several rays of light suddenly appeared above the fire ring. 5 colors of light, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth are all available. Zuyun suddenly became furious and said fiercely, "They are extracting spiritual roots. Let's go." Remembering what the alchemist in the 5 Elements sect had done, Zuyun became furious, poured the power of chaos into his legs, and rushed over. "Boy Zuyun, wait for me." Wanpotion also stepped on the mysterious sword step, and followed closely on the blood moon brilliance. But after a few breaths, a grey light suddenly flew from the distant sky. It flew above the ring of fire and then turned sharply and plunged heavily. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the ring of fire exploded immediately, and the extracted spiritual roots also dissipated between heaven and earth. At the same time, the disciples of the Jiden sect spit out blood and flew out one after another. The ordinary monks who were restrained by them had their flesh and blood splattered with no bones left. "This!" Zuyun exclaimed and stopped suddenly. That grey-white light was extremely familiar to him. And the figure of the imperial emissary, the grey light, will never be forgotten. Nujiao, and the Chaos Sword. "Zuyun, I'll go first." At this time, Wanpotion was even more excited than him and brushed Zuyun's shoulder away. Etc. Zuyun exclaimed, "Chaos Sword has its own intelligence," and abandoned him, choosing Nujiao. This is a traitor, how can he still recognize Wanpotion? But obviously, Wanpotion also recognized the Chaos Sword. After all, it was his former sword of destiny. He must have known it at the moment it appeared. Wanpotion didn't stop, so Zuyun had no choice but to follow. However, before they arrived, the Chaos Sword flew up again. This time, Jianfeng came straight towards them. The sword has 10,000 ways, and all the ways are unified. This can break the sky. Suddenly, Wanpotion's body glowed with the light of countless blood moons, and the immortal root on his forehead also burst into light. The Chaos Sword flying in mid-air suddenly stagnated, almost throwing Nujiao off. At this moment, Wanpotion flew up, and the light of the blood moon condensed into 10,000 sword energy, and finally merged into one, which turned out to be the Chaos Sword, and shot towards the Chaos Sword. "Beast, I gave you a chance to be reborn, but you still dare to be used by the devil? Why don't you admit your mistake?" The sound that breaks through the sky is like a huge bell, powerful in all directions. Nujiao stabilized her figure, turned around, and stood on the Chaos Sword again. Then, a palm was slapped towards him. An extremely dark, void-like color struck Wanpotion. "How dare you act arrogantly in front of me even if you are just a demon? Get out of my way." Wanpotion raised 2 fingers together and slashed out a blood moon sword energy. "Call out." The sword energy broke through the air and cut off the demonic energy directly. 10,000 sword techniques. Nujiao exclaimed and turned around to leave, but Wanpotion refused to give in and chased after her. This scene made Zuyun dumbfounded. Nujiao, even if her strength is not as strong as before, she is still a saint from the Holy Demon clan after all. He is not an immortal, but he is the same existence as an immortal, with many subtle methods. But he was forced back by Wanpotion, who had taken possession of his body and lived again. Before Zuyun could react, he saw Wanpotion laughing wildly again, stepping on the void, reaching out to grab the Chaos Sword, and chasing Nujiao. "Get out of here!" Nujiao exclaimed, and when she was escaping, she suddenly struck out with a palm, and the black sword energy, like the shape of the magic sword, struck Wanpotion head-on. The sword is the ancestor of all weapons, and the sword technique of 10,000 ways is the ancestor of all swords in the world. When the 10,000 swords are completed, they are called wanji. The 10,000 swords are called wuji. No matter how mysterious your sword skills are, in my eyes they are just sword. Wanpotion's eyes were gleaming, and he held the Wanjun Chaos Sword in his hand. But with a slight tap, the energy of the magic sword suddenly dispersed. He continued to chase without any delay at all. Zuyun was completely shocked. When the 10,000 swords are completed, they become the Wanji, and when the Wanji and Wanji are completed, they become the Wuji. Could it be that the sword technique practiced by Wanpotion is also the Wuji sword technique? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1355. Zuyun's Wuji sword technique was obtained from the jade slip of the remnant soul of the great universe Immortal. The learning process is extremely simple. The remaining souls of the jade slips transformed into human figures, allowing Zuyun to learn it and then forget it again. After he has forgotten all the sword moves, he will use his instinct to defend himself against the enemy. This is the Wuji sword technique. Flying flowers and picking leaves can all be turned into swords. Every move can be used as a secret. But the number of times he has used the Wuji sword technique has not been very high. Especially after losing the Chaos Sword. This is also because occasionally he feels that it is not too easy to use. At this moment, Wanpotion's unconscious words suddenly made Zuyun realize something. Wanji is Wuji. Doesn't this also coincide with the principle of the 3,000 avenues, that different paths lead to the same destination? So unbelievable. Why the Wuji sword technique again? There are rumors in the spiritual world that the founder of Wanjian Mountain is proficient in any sword technique in the world. But it seems that no one has ever said where Wanpotian came from. Now that I think about it, Wanpotion is even more mysterious. In the Qingping Immortal Kingdom, Wanpotion also felt discouraged. If he hadn't used the Wuji sword technique to give him some advice, Wanpotion might not have been able to appear here. Zuyun frowned and pondered. The only thing that was certain was that Wanpotion might have also lost part of his memory. Damn it, I was looking for a helper, but this helper turned out to be so strong. The key is that he ran away with Nujiao. Zuyun knocked on his forehead. To be honest, he really couldn't catch up with Wanpotion and Nujiao. Unless, use that ferry boat. However, he didn't have the immortal crystal in hand, and of course he couldn't use his spiritual power to control the immortal boat. That's all, let's go to the Moon Demon ruins first. Zuyun felt helpless again and took a look. Wanpotion and Nujiao had turned into two spots of light. After walking some way forward, the land of the Ring of Fire was devastated, with broken limbs and arms, which made people feel chilly. Zuyun sighed and looked forward again. There were still a few monks from Jiden sect alive. However, they are already taking in less air and outgoing more air. You have done many evil things and I will send you on your way. Zuyun's eyes narrowed, murderous intent flashed in his eyes, he raised two fingers and shot out two sword energy. Call out! Call out! The sword energy passed through the chest and directly killed two monks from the Jiden sect. But just as he was leaving, two inconspicuous black lights suddenly appeared from the wounds of the two monks who had just died, penetrated by the sword energy. Before he could take a closer look, the black light had already dissipated. What's this? Zuyun was slightly startled, and it was no longer possible to observe. Some people have said that the people of Jiden sect are neither humans nor monsters, but they come from Qingping Fairy Kingdom. Is it possible? A terrible thought suddenly appeared in his mind, which made Zuyun shiver. He quickly shook his head. No matter what, he needed to get the Blood Moon Immortal artifact first. Eat the meal one bite at a time. Just take it one step at a time. Otherwise, no matter what he does, he won't be able to complete it. Zuyun's eyes gradually became firmer, and his feet speeded up. Now that something unusual has happened in the ascended immortal secret realm, flying in the air is not a wise move. A few hours later, he also encountered many hurtful actions from the Jidan sect or the Demon Moon sect. But he didn't linger, not wanting to be delayed any longer. Finally, he arrived at the Moon Demon ruins and stood under the blood moon light curtain. Looking up, it looks like a long corridor reaching the sky. How to get up there? Zuyun carefully affixed the breath condensation talisman and the invisibility talisman on himself, hesitated for a moment, and finally stepped into the Moon Demon ruins where the formation was laid out. When I came back again, everything had changed. The last time I came here, countless monks broke into it. But at this moment, Zuyun couldn't see anyone. In addition, the entire Moon Demon ruins still smelled of blood. At least tens of thousands of people died. Zuyun took a deep breath. He didn't know that the light-gathering cup hidden in his ring was condensed with the flesh and blood essence of tens of thousands of monks. Only by gathering a certain amount of blood moon power could it absorb the sun completely. Fire! There was no monk from the Demon Moon sect in the Moon Demon site. It was completely unlike when he first entered, and Zuyun had no idea what was going on. If I had known earlier, I would have arrested someone outside and asked him. Zuyun muttered in a low voice that on the way here, he did encounter several waves of murders by Demon Moon sect monks, but in order to rush for time, he did not go there. After thinking for a moment, he used the void-breaking spirit eye technique to look up at the sky, and the blood moon corridor bridge became more detailed in his eyes. Go to the middle first. Zuyun locked the position, then looked ahead, and quickly found a route. After burning the incense, he discovered that the starting point of the blood moon covered bridge was exactly at the center of the blood moon formation. At the center of the array is an altar. There is no one around, and it can be seen that no one from Moyo sect is here. After thinking for a moment, Zuyun called Zhou Pao out of the universe. He currently has no one available, and Zhou Gun is also seriously injured, so he has no time to pay attention to it for the time being. Although Zhou Pao is not very powerful in combat, he has yin immortal roots. Even if he is really in danger and cannot be of much help, at least he can protect himself. Master, where is? Zhou Pao was also extremely shocked when he saw the huge blood moon covered bridge. This is the secret realm of Xianxia. Zuyun squinted his eyes and said, I am going to collect the blood moon in the sky, which may attract people at any time. You stay here to protect me. If something unexpected happens, you strive to protect yourself. Even if others want to break into this blood moon formation, it is not that easy. After saying that, Zuyun ordered again, you hide under the shadow of this altar. Master, Zhou Pao's eyes flashed and he said, it seems, I can control this bloody power. What did you say? Zuyun was surprised that Wan Potion could use it, which was not surprising because Wan Potion was a sword cultivator. But Zhou Pao? Master, I already have yin immortal roots, and I can feel that the essence of this blood moon power is also yin. In fact, this kind of power is much more comfortable to me than pseudo-immortal power. Great, Zuyun suddenly realized and smiled happily. He clapped his hands and said, in this way, we still follow the previous plan. This is a large array. If someone breaks in, you will lead him elsewhere. If you want to harm me, see if you can do it. In this secret realm of Xianxia, apart from Nujiao and the people from Jidan sect and Moyo sect, Zuyun also has a big enemy, Xianxia. In addition, there are still some periods of transcending tribulation, which are temporarily unmatched by him. If someone really came to sabotage him while he was collecting the Blood Moon Immortal artifact, Zuyun couldn't guarantee what would happen. Don't worry, Master, this place is just like my home. Zhou Pao was so confident that he even condensed his immortal roots, and a dark red color appeared on his forehead. Compared with Wan Potion at that time, the color was more realistic and closer to the Blood Moon. Very good, if this comes to pass, maybe you will get a great blessing in the future. Zuyun also said without hesitation. Master means. Zhou Pao was overjoyed, but Zuyun smiled mysteriously, it will happen after the thing is done. Now that I have said it, wouldn't it be a pity if I am disappointed? Zuyun stepped onto the altar, and this time, he used the divine eye technique. The chaos power in the body was purified crazily and consumed at an extremely fast speed. In his eyes, steps appeared on the Blood Moon corridor bridge, reaching up to the sky. When Zuyun stepped out, it seemed like a void in Zhou Pao's eyes, but in fact, there was an extremely solid feeling coming from the solace of his feet. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. I wish Yun will go faster and faster. He did not give Zhou Pao a cake, but if the Blood Moon Immortal artifact could be collected, then the continuous power of the Blood Moon could be used by Zhou Pao. For him, no matter where he is, he has endless power. This simply complements each other. What more is there to do with that fake fairy weapon? Wait a minute, let's see Fenshin. As Zuyun walked, he took out the magic weapon from the cover. Zhou Gun had already told him the formula for the magic weapon. As soon as he got closer to the Blood Moon, he would let Fen Tianyang come out. As for how to collect, all the treasures in the world cannot be separated from their origin. He believes that all it takes is a drop of blood. Even if this Blood Moon immortal weapon has the location of an immortal weapon, and the immortal soul hammer that is integrated with itself, then why not? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1356. Very far away. The demon refining tower in Zhu Feng's hand directly pierced a black-robed demon cultivator. Huh. As the demon cultivator fell, Zhu Feng exhaled a long breath of turbid air. It's the peak of the late nascent soul stage. But why do these demon cultivators have red light in their eyes, as if they have lost their minds? Zuyun shrunk the demon refining tower again and put it into his sleeve. After he escaped, he did not follow Zuyun's words to leave the Ascension secret realm. His intuition told him that in this world, his cultivation could make rapid progress. Although, he embarked on the path of magic again. But with good intentions, Zhu Feng would never become a demon. On the ground, there were countless shriveled corpses. Including the last demon cultivator he stabbed to death. After Zhu Feng pulled out of the demon refining tower, he also became a mummy. A stream of pure demonic energy flowed into his body. Zhu Feng's Danshan had actually been destroyed long ago. Even if he returned to the nascent soul stage, the nascent soul in his lower abdomen was just a shadow. But with the infusion of these demonic energy, the nascent soul gradually became solid. Compared to these demon cultivators, it seems that the demonic energy provided by those cultivators who set fire seems to be more pure. What is going on? Zhu Feng looked into the distance, and sure enough, there were some disciples of the Jiden sect outside these black-clothed demon cultivators. Forget it, no matter what, I'll continue to kill people to practice. While eliminating harm for the spirit world, I can also improve my realm. It's really killing two birds with one stone. Zhu Feng suddenly smiled, and his face was somewhat similar to Zuyun, full of confidence. Just as he continued to walk away, when he looked up, he suddenly saw that there seemed to be a black spot under the blood moon, walking towards the blood moon. This is... He squinted his eyes and couldn't see clearly. Tower spirit, can you feel anything? He took out the demon refining tower again and asked in a low voice. Niao's voice sounded, I can't feel it, but Zhu Feng, I suggest you don't get close to the blood moon bridge. Why? Under the bridge, in addition to the heavier demonic energy, there seems to be a lot of cold air. From what I see, it is very likely the breath of people who died in vain. Mass grave. Zhu Fen narrowed his eyes, and then a hint of fighting spirit flashed in his eyes. Tower spirit, if I was afraid of death, I probably wouldn't return to the nascent soul stage. Besides, if I really can't beat them, I can just hide back in this tower. Big Brother taught me a way, as long as they dare to follow into the tower, I can still escape to heaven. Since there is no worry, why not go for a life and death battle? Maybe, I can also break through the God transformation stage. Then, I can really help Big Brother. Niao was silent. After all, he knew Zhu Feng, and Zhu Feng was his current master. Let's go. Zhu Yun threw out the demon refining tower, and then stepped into the air and stepped on the demon refining tower. Whoosh! The demon refining tower flew towards the moon demon ruins. At the same time, in another direction of the Ascension secret realm, someone actually wants to pick the moon? Sister Red Boy, what do you think? Xianxia pointed at the blood moon in the sky and said expressionlessly. Sister Zhong, I think that since you have 3 fellow deists who are crossing the tribulation following you, and I am your sister, we may be able to compete. Master, a deist who is crossing the tribulation period behind him also said, we have searched all over the secret realm of ascension and have passed through many forbidden areas, but there is no inheritance. According to what I have seen, this blood moon may be the real inheritance of the Immortals. Oh! Xianxia narrowed her eyes and said, you mean, the so-called inheritance of the formation Immortal is actually fake? Yes, the old man nodded and said, we finally got out of the tower, and we all left marks on the tower. But who knew that the marks were getting farther and farther away and finally disappeared? This shows that the so-called Tongtian Immortal Tower is probably someone else's space magic weapon, used to delay our time. Are you saying that it was Zhu Yun who did it? When Zhu Yun was mentioned, Xianxia gritted her teeth. How could his life be so strong? It's just my guess, I dare not jump to conclusions. Xianxia nodded and said, what you said makes sense. If so, let's go and join in the fun. I believe that our strength is the strongest in the entire Xianxian secret realm. Yes, Sect Master. A group of 5 people also rushed towards the moon demon ruins. In the extreme west, inside a dead volcano, an old man from the Jidan sect was wrapped in 5-color light. In the light curtain, his face was hideous and full of pain. After the light approached his body, it turned black. These black air continued to gather and condense, and finally entered from his eyebrows. You can see with the naked eye that a black vein-like line extends from the eyebrows to his lower abdomen. Sect Master, hold on a little longer. Many of our disciples were killed by the disciples of the Demon Moon sect. Next to him was another elder of the Jidan sect. If Ji Tianqing was here, he would definitely recognize him. Hold on a little longer, it will be fine. We have been planning for so long, and now that the sect master has rebuilt his demonic body, we can enter the Qingping immortal kingdom in one fell swoop, extract the immortal roots of those immortals, and refine a supreme immortal demon pill. Sect master, for the sake of our Jidan sect, bear with it a little longer, it will be fine soon. Another person in the tribulation stage whispered. This sect master knows that you must guard this place well. This sect master has been possessed for so long, waiting for this moment. At the same time, within the Qingping Fairy Kingdom, Lin Yu burst out of a dense forest. Not only did her injuries completely recover, but she also used the pseudo-immortal Ruyi to condense the Yang fire. She only needs to return to the secret realm of Shengxian to refine the blood moon. She knows more than Zhu Yun. No matter how to quickly reach the edge of the blood moon immortal artifact, or the method of refining the blood moon. It's time to go back. What a pity that the great immortal king is dead. Otherwise, I can use the blood moon immortal artifact to refine it into an artifact immortal, which will be more useful to me. Lin Yu felt a little regretful, stretched out her hand to wipe the ring, and took out a shuttle. After silently reciting a mantra, the shuttle gradually lit up. A moment later, the shuttle jumped out with a whoosh, and passed straight through the space barrier. When she appeared again, she was already in the secret realm of ascension. Lin Yu looked up immediately, and her expression changed. Someone actually got on the covered bridge. Damn it! Lin Yu cursed angrily. After returning to the secret realm of Xianxia, she had the inexhaustible power of the blood moon. She put away the shuttle, stretched out her hand and made a magic spell. Above the blood moon, a beam of light suddenly shot towards her. Lin Yu bathed in it, her whole body aura surged. But the surrounding areas that were originally shrouded in the blood moon's brilliance have become much darker. In an instant, some monks with relatively strong minds regained consciousness. They dared not stay here and fled towards the exit. At this time, Zuyun also discovered the changes in the blood moon. He looked at the beam of light that extended out and shot into the distance. He secretly thought that it was not good. There is no doubt that this is Lin Yu's return. Except for her, no one can use the power of the blood moon. What should I do? After all, it's still a step too slow. Just when he was feeling annoyed, a familiar breath suddenly came from the distance. Suddenly, he looked over with his divine eyes, and was suddenly surprised and delighted. It turned out that Zhu Feng, who was standing on the demon refining tower, was heading here. No, Zhu Yun quickly came to his senses. No matter how strong Zhu Feng was, he could only reach the peak of the late nascent soul stage. In this secret realm of ascending to immortality, there was absolutely no way he could break through to the stage of divine transformation. And even if there is a breakthrough, so what? Zhu Feng's Taoist behavior was simply incapable of dealing with Lin Yu. If he comes here, he will die. What to do? Sword Immortal, there is something strange going on here, how about you stop chasing me? While Nujiao was flying wildly, she suddenly turned around and said to Wan Potion with a cold face. Nujiao, you destroyed the immortal emperor, I should avenge him. Wan Potion's expression was stern, his words were devoid of any emotion, and even when he called Nujiao his name of Sword Immortal, there was no emotion at all. Sword Immortal, Immortal Emperor, I said I would explain it to you, but right now, do you have to fight to the death? Explanation is just a cover-up, Wan Potion's eyes flashed, and he suddenly increased his speed. The Chaos Sword in his hand suddenly grew larger and longer, and he smashed it towards Nujiao's head. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzwan Xianxia. Chapter 1357. Sword Immortal, do you have to fight to the death? Nujiao ducked out of the way and looked at Wan Potion with a look of resentment on her face, her breasts rising and falling slightly, and her mouth breathing heavily. Haha, you don't have a magic sword or a magic eye? And my memory is restored, this sword is back, what do you have to fight with me? Wan Potion's face was filled with disdain. The Chaos Sword had shrunk back to its original size. He hugged it to his chest with a calm expression. Okay, very good. In that case, let me let you be arrogant for a while first. After the words fell, Nujiao turned around and turned into a black mist, and then dissipated. Wan Po Tian did not move until the black mist completely disappeared, then he fell from the sky and fell heavily into the earth. After a while, he stood up and murmured to himself with a wry smile, damn it, if you don't scare her away, boy Zuyun will be in big trouble. However, Nujiao must have felt the presence of the magic knife, so he must hurry up just tell Zuyun. Wan Potion stood up holding the Chaos Sword and looked towards the sky. The black spots on the blood-colored covered bridge had stopped moving. Old friend, this time, it's up to you. Withdrawing his gaze, Wan Potion flicked the sword, then stepped on the sword and flew towards that direction. Outside the secret realm of Xianxia, a black mist formed, and she returned to her Nujiao appearance. She looked back at the entrance of the secret realm of Xianxia with hatred on her face. Wuji Sword Immortal, you are just a lackey under the Immortal Emperor, but you dare to fight against me? I have determined that both the demon sword and the demon eye are in this spiritual world, but it is a pity that I cannot find the exact location. But, there is, it's not difficult for someone from the Ji family to help me figure out where it is. After that, Nujiao left. In order to escape from the secret realm of ascension, she self-destructed her realm and finally broke through to the nascent soul stage, but was destroyed again. Now she is only at the foundation establishment stage at best. Fortunately, there were many young monks coming out of the ascension secret realm at this time, and she was not too conspicuous. The monks were too busy taking care of themselves, so how could they have time to take care of her? Boy Zuyun, I didn't expect you to want to seize this Blood Moon Immortal artifact. It's a pity that you can't make any waves in the covered bridge transformed by the power of the Blood Moon. Zuyun had already noticed that Lin Yu had noticed him. Lin Yu's voice arrived first before Lin Yu arrived. She didn't even need to enter from the formation below, she flew directly from the sky to confront Zuyun across the sky. What Blood Moon Immortal artifact? Demon Moon Sect Master, what are you talking about? Zuyun deliberately pretended to be stupid. Don't think I don't know, Lin Yu snorted coldly, you took my light gathering cup, didn't you just want to collect the Yang fire, and then offset the power of the extreme Yin Blood Moon besides the Blood Moon? Focus cup? Is this what you're talking about? Zuyun sneered in his heart, took out his ring with his backhand, and then threw it straight over. Lin Yu took it and took a closer look. She found that there was no trace of Yang Huo inside, and she couldn't help but be stunned. Master Moyo sect, I am not your enemy. I entered Qingping Fairyland by mistake, and you Moyo sect people attacked me as soon as I came in, including you. If I hadn't been careful, I'm going to die in a foreign land. What kind of Blood Moon Immortal artifact? I wish Yun had self-awareness, I can't even think about it at my state of transformation. Lin Yu was a little confused. Could it be that Zuyun was really not here for the immortal weapon? She originally thought that Zuyun had killed Elder Zhu and that he had taken the light gathering cup. She couldn't find any reason other than wanting the Blood Moon Immortal artifact. But when she thought about it carefully now, it seemed that everything was just her own conjecture. Is it a misunderstanding? She fought with Zuyun several times, but she did not gain the upper hand, which made her somewhat afraid of Zuyun. Naturally, she would not take action if she could avoid it. Especially in this situation. You mean, it's a misunderstanding? Lin Yu squinted her eyes, thinking about how she could successfully obtain the Blood Moon Immortal artifact. Of course, Zuyun said angrily, do you think it is easy for me to become an immortal? Someone here killed me, someone killed me there, and I accidentally entered the Qingping Immortal Kingdom. Logically speaking, there are monks in the spiritual world, and we should work together. Find a way to solve the problem, and then come out. Those people in Qingping Fairy Kingdom are not good people. As a result, look what happened. Since it's a misunderstanding. Lin Yu thought for a moment and said, then it's over. Lin Yu, can't help you, so I can compensate you appropriately. Zuyun, don't dare to think about compensation or anything. If you really feel sorry for me, why not think of a way to get me out of the Blood Moon covered bridge? This damn formation is too weird, I'm trapped, I couldn't get out, so I thought I could get out through this place, but what kind of Lashiza magic weapon is this? Zuyun looked disgusted, and he actually deceived Lin Yu. He only heard her say, leaving is very simple. You walk back along the steps, then go to the beginning of the altar, recite a mantra, and then you can start from here, leave the formation. I can teach you the formula now. Zuyun said with joy on his face, that couldn't be better. Senior Sect Master, this is what we have agreed upon. It is a great joy for you to get the immortal weapon. Let me go and I will be a happy little cultivator from now on. I wish you the best. May your journey to immortality go smoothly, and you may ascend to the immortal world as soon as possible." As he spoke, he kept holding his hands, waiting expectantly for Lin Yu to tell him the formula. This formation was strange, and he couldn't understand many parts. But if you have the formula and draw inferences from one example, I believe you can find the flaws in the formation. If he could fully understand it, he might be able to control this formation, activate the power of the blood moon, and have a good fight with Lin Yu. The higher the realm of battle, he found that only formations could truly work. Because only formations are not restricted by realms. As long as the level of power in the formation is higher, killing immortals and gods will be a piece of cake. The formula is nothing. Lin Yu smiled slightly, opened her lips slightly, and told Zhu Yun the formula, and then said, "This formation is only useful in the secret realm of Xianxia. After leaving it, it will be of no use. It's okay to tell you." "Okay, you can leave now, and this sect master can protect you." Lin Yu also noticed a black sword light coming from a distance, but he didn't take it seriously. After Zhu Yun left, he planned to enter the Blood Moon Corridor Bridge and refine the Blood Moon Immortal artifact. Zhu Yun also confirmed without a doubt that it was Zhu Feng. Zhu Feng, if you can hold on until I can fully understand this formation, the two of us brothers will work together to kill it." When he turned around, there was a fierce light in his eyes, and then he ran towards the altar resolutely. When he reached the bottom, the wind was blowing. "Demon sect evildoer, suffer death!" Zhu Feng shouted loudly, turned over and jumped up from the demon refining tower, stretched out his hand, and the demon refining tower fell into his hands. He devoured many monks from the demon moon sect, and after connecting some of the incomplete fragments, he learned that Lin Yu had refined tens of thousands of monks here, thus refining an evil spiritual weapon. Now, this evil spiritual weapon is in her hands. Spotlight cup? And more importantly, he saw Zhu Yun leave her. Although he didn't know the reason, he believed that Zhu Yun must outwit others in order to leave safely. Then what he has to do is to delay as much time as possible for Zhu Yun. "Brother, it looks like I'm going to give you my life today. I wish Feng is not afraid of death. He would give up anything for Zhu Yun. Therefore, taking action is the ultimate move." Lin Yu was a little interested. Zhu Feng was not in the nascent soul stage, so he dared to attack her? "Boy, you are young, but you are very courageous. You dare to call me a demon sect monster, but the demonic energy in you is not much less than mine." Lin Yu smiled tenderly, and casually pulled a ray of blood moon power towards Zhu Feng Guiyue. But who knows, Zhu Feng is inherently clumsy. The power of the blood moon? I can use it too. With an imperceptible sneer at the corner of his mouth, Zhu Feng turned his sword and thrust the tip straight into Lin Yu's palm. "Demon refining tower, grow it for me." With a loud shout, the demon refining tower actually aroused the power of the blood moon. Especially at such a close distance from the blood moon, the power aroused was thicker and stronger than Lin Yu's careless palm. The palm towers intersected, and Lin Yu's fleshy palm was immediately pierced by the tip of the demon refining tower. Zhu Feng roared, swallowing the magic power. An extremely powerful suction force came from the demon refining tower, and the power of the blood moon stored in Lin Yu's body continued to surge towards Zhu Feng. "Young man, how dare you plot against my sect leader? Die!" Lin Yu was tricked by Zhu Feng, but she did not withdraw her palm. Not only did she use the power of the blood moon in her body, but she also activated the power in the bloody corridor bridge to rush out of Zhu Feng's body. If you want to devour a mere nascent soul stage, let's devour as much as you can and see if you explode. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1358. Bless the wind. Zuyun saw the scene clearly and remembered the scene that happened in the demon refining tower in the mortal world. In order to kill Yao Fuzong, Zhu Feng also chose to devour him by force. But at that time, Yao Fuzong was seriously injured and his state was declining. And Zhu Feng had once reached the realm of nascent soul and swallowed it in a foundation-building manner, but the advantages outweighed the disadvantages. But at this time, Zuyun was already at the peak of the late nascent soul stage, and in this secret realm of ascending to immortality, it was impossible to break through to the stage of becoming a god. The only outcome is to explode and die. There's still help, there's still help. It won't be that fast. Zuyun's eyes were splitting, and he forced himself to calm down. Of course he knew that Zhu Feng was here to save him. This silly boy, brother, how can I put myself to death? Even if this body is destroyed, there are still 2 incarnations in the outside world. Master, how about it? Zhou Pao saw Zuyun's mood, raised his head and asked carefully. It's okay, Zuyun took a deep breath and said, now I have to find a way to refine this blood moon formation for my own use, and I need your protection. Unless Zhu Feng reaches the critical point, you must not take action. Although he also wanted to save Zhu Feng, once he took action, his efforts would fall short. Not only would Zhu Feng die, but he would not be able to please him either. This immortal moon artifact would eventually fall into Lin Yu's hands. Just take a gamble. Yes, master. Zhou Pao did not show his body, he just raised his head and stared, firmly remembering Zuyun's words in his heart. And Zuyun began to study the blood moon formation. If he can control the formation, he can definitely make a comeback. Zhu Feng has the demon refining tower in hand, and with the Niao's help, he should be able to transfer part of the blood moon's power to the demon refining tower. However, he didn't know how long he could last. After concentrating and calming down, Zuyun even drew a soul-clearing talisman and stuck it on his forehead. The moon is yin, and the blood is also yang. There is yang energy in the blood, but the yin and yang are not harmonious. Supplemented by demonic energy, 2 against 1. Zuyun muttered words, analyzing the principles of the blood moon formation, and combined with his understanding of the battle path, he started from the source of power. He was as quiet as a pine tree, motionless, as if anything that happened in the sky had nothing to do with him. Zhu Feng's eyes gradually bulged, and his peripheral vision glanced at Zuyun from time to time, feeling even more anxious in his heart. Brother, why are you standing still? Although there is a formation below, you are a formation master, so you should be able to walk out. Feeling the extreme pain in his body, the power of the blood moon continuously impacted his 9 veins. It hurt, and it felt like it was exploding. The wound on Lin Yu's hand has solidified and has grown together with the demon refining tower. This made her think that the power of the blood moon that she would activate would soon destroy Zhu Feng. But he didn't expect that letting Niao control the demon refining tower would help Zhu Feng share part of the blood moon's power. Gradually, Lin Yu felt that something was wrong. Why, after a period of transcending tribulation and with outside help, why hadn't this kid self-destruct? Is it possible that this child is not in the nascent soul stage? Thinking of this, Lin Yu's eyes narrowed, and 2 rays of color that were exactly the same as the power of the blood moon suddenly appeared in his eyes, and they were projected into Zhu Feng's lower abdomen. Huh? This boy's nascent soul. Zhu Feng originally built the Qi, built a Taoist platform, and formed a pill to become a baby, but it has been destroyed long ago. So the current nascent soul is just a shadow. Although it has become solid, in reality, it still feels a bit ethereal. It can be said that this is a fake nascent soul. If it were an ordinary monk, it would be extremely difficult to practice again. But unfortunately, Zhu Feng is a sword cultivator and a demon cultivator. His strength comes more from his understanding of the way of swordsmanship, the spiritual power, demonic energy, or vitality that he swallowed. This nascent soul phantom is not white and fat like ordinary monks, but rather dark. Lin Yu was stunned for a moment, and suddenly saw an incredible scene above the nascent soul. 9 circular patterns, has the sun practiced the magic power of 9 generations. 9 rings with darker colors kept circling on the dark nascent soul, and Lin Yu opened her mouth. The 9th generation demonic art is the unique method of demonic Dao of their Demon Moon sect, and it is also the foundation for their ability to settle down and live in Qingping Star. Lin Yu was born in the spirit world, but because of the 9th generation demonic art, she received the initiation from her ancestors and gained the power to protect herself. She learned the 9th generation demonic art and carried it forward. It also allowed the Demon Moon sect to hide its power in the spiritual world, recuperate, and finally grow stronger until the secret realm of ascension to immortality is opened. But practicing the 9 generations demonic skill is not an easy task. The Demon Moon sect has many descendants of the Qingping Star Demon Cultivator. It may be due to the fact that there is no pseudo-immortal power in the spiritual world that it is difficult to sustain the demonic energy they cultivate, and the ordinary moonlight power lacks demonic energy. Therefore, the magic power of the 9 generations can only be passed down through the initiation of the previous generation. But even so, the probability of failure is quite high. It can be said that apart from Lin Yu, there is no one else who has truly reached the 9th level. And whether you have the talent to cultivate the 9 turns depends on whether there are 9 black rings in your body. There is no doubt that Zhu Feng has such a talent. He is obviously not a descendant of our Demon Moon sect, so why can he achieve the 9 transformations? Lin Yu couldn't believe it and couldn't find the key. But the actual situation is: the demonic cultivators of the Demonic Moon sect are descendants of the Qingping Star Demonic Cultivator. In the spiritual world, conditions are extremely harsh for them, and their levels of power do not match. On the other hand, Zhu Feng, a monk born and raised in the mortal world, originally embarked on the path to immortality with the power of devouring demons. In addition, the Demon Refining Tower solved the shortcomings of the devouring demonic art for him, and on the contrary, the magic power that Zhu Feng finally condensed was extremely pure, which was very suitable for the 9 generations demonic art. And because Zhu Feng's spiritual root was destroyed, it was equivalent to a monk without spiritual roots. In this way, they are equivalent to the monks of Qingping Star. Although they have immortal roots, they are affected by the spiritual world and their immortal roots degenerate, but the effect on the body still exists. But Zhu Feng, there is no problem at all. A monk without spiritual roots has practiced and destroyed everything related to the spiritual world, so why can't this magic power from Qingping Fairy Kingdom work? Under this condition, 9 black rings will appear on his nascent soul, proving that he can fully cultivate the 9 generations demonic art to its peak. This son may be able to carry forward our Demon Moon sect, but he cannot be killed. Lin Yu is a selfish person, so selfish that he doesn't care about the life and death of his subordinates. But everything is due to his inheritance from generation to generation, and he regards the growth of Moyo sect as his lifelong dream. At this moment, with this thought, she no longer wanted to kill Zhu Feng and stopped instilling the power of the blood moon. "Boy, let me spare your life." She suddenly pulled her palm out from the top of the tower. The sudden stagnation of strength made Zhu Feng a little unaccustomed, and his body also fell. Niao still retained consciousness and quickly flew to rescue him. The Demon Refining Tower caught Zhu Feng steadily, and finally landed in the Blood Moon formation. Lin Yu raised her head again and looked at the Blood Moon immortal artifact. Not only has the son practiced the demon devouring art, but he also has the ultimate talent of cultivating the 9 generations of demonic art. If he can be carefully cultivated, I am afraid that in the spiritual world, I am afraid that my Demon Moon sect will also have a place in the immortal world. Lin Yu was so excited that she didn't even notice that Zhu Yun was still in the Blood Moon formation. She looked at the Blood Moon immortal artifact, stepped into the Blood Corridor Bridge, and walked towards the Blood Moon immortal artifact. After a stick of incense, another uninvited guest came to visit. There are 5 people in the group, and 4 of them are going through the tribulation period. It's Xianxia. Sect Master, it seems that there is a new person. An old man pointed at Lin Yu across the Blood Moon corridor bridge and said. Replacement. Xianxia asked doubtfully, can you see that? You can't see it, but you can feel it, the old man nodded and said, I could see black spots before, but now, you can see that her whole body is connected with blood, which is enough to prove that they are not the same person. Xianxia's eyes flashed with greed and she said, so, can we also enter it and seize the blood moon? Looking at the direction Lin Yu is going, any normal person can tell that Lin Yu is going towards the blood moon. Presumably, this is the immortal weapon in the secret realm of ascension. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1359. Zufeng, Zufeng, how are you? Aniao didn't know what happened and why Lin Yu suddenly stopped. At this moment, he could only shout loudly in his purple mansion through the connection of the demon refining tower. However, no one responded to him. What should I do? If he doesn't wake up, I'm afraid something big will happen. Aniao was so anxious that he was running around. To this day, he has not completely controlled the demon refining tower. He can't get out of it to protect Zufeng. Moreover, he didn't know what happened in the outside world. At most, he could only feel Zufeng's situation at this time. He had done his best to catch him and let him land slowly. There are too many dangers in this secret realm of ascension. I don't know if the evil spirit of the demon sect will attack Zufeng later. It seems that we should protect him first. Aniao made a bold decision. He completely retracted his body into the sphere on the altar, and then concentrated all his strength to control the demon refining tower to start to grow. Until, he sensed that the bronze door was facing Zufeng. Open it for me. The bronze door opened wide, and then a suction force was generated, sucking the unconscious Zufeng into the demon refining tower. As long as he was in the tower, Aniao could know Zufeng's location. By the time Zufeng was directly sent to the 9th floor, Aniao's spirit had become very weak. For him, this cost was huge. But in order to protect Zufeng, he had no choice but to do so. Seeing Zufeng appear in front of him, Aniao finally breathed a sigh of relief. His body can't withstand such a huge force. If it takes some time, I'm afraid something big will happen. Aniao's eyes flashed with determination, and he used his only strength to move Zufeng into the pool. In this way, Zufeng can be completely connected to the demon refining tower. I don't know how long I will sleep this time. Aniao breathed a sigh of relief, and then lost consciousness. And the blood moon power in Zufeng's body that almost wanted to explode his body slowly spread out through the pool water. Gradually, the 9th floor was filled with the power of the blood moon. Then, it was transmitted to the 8th floor. The 7th floor. The 6th floor. The internal space of the demon refining tower is so large. And this was originally built according to the specifications of the immortal weapon, and Yao Fuzong used a lot of immortal materials. It is natural to bear the power of the blood moon, which is equivalent to pseudo-immortal power. Zufeng's crisis has been alleviated. Now, as long as he discharges all these uncontrolled blood moon powers into the demon refining tower, his body will recover. But for him, the price is also not small. As long as Aniao does not wake up, the demon refining tower will stay here forever. At this moment, above the sky, the few people also discovered the abnormality below. Master, the Tongtian Immortal Tower. A person in the tribulation period saw the scene and couldn't help but scream in horror. Originally, they just thought that the demon refining tower was nothing, even if it disappeared on the spot later, they didn't take it to heart. But now, it suddenly appeared from under the blood moon, how could they not be shocked? The red boy fairy flashed a trace of panic and said, "Sister, there is something strange here, why don't we talk about it later?" The other two people in the tribulation crossing stage also had the same thought. In comparison, they were more afraid of death. Xianxia said coldly, "It seems that your guesses are all wrong. This Tongtian fairy tower may also be a fairy weapon." Also a fairy weapon. The four people were shocked again, and a trace of greed flashed by and then disappeared. Fairy weapons are good, but the important thing is whether you have the life to enjoy them. They are all in the tribulation crossing stage. If they can have fairy weapons and take them to the fairyland, they will definitely be able to gain a foothold. They can hear a little about the fairyland. At their level, in addition to enlightenment and cultivation, they will also deliberately collect news about the fairyland. If this tower is a fairy weapon, the blood moon is also a fairy weapon. I don't know if these two fairy weapons are related. Xianxia thought about it for herself, and finally decided to go to the demon refining tower to explore. Without the four people behind her noticing, Xianxia had already tried the blood moon corridor bridge and found that although her golden soul power could penetrate it, it was difficult to find a way to enter. In comparison, they had all been to the demon refining tower and were more familiar with it. "Master, shall we go to this tower?" After hearing Xianxia's decision, the few people had no other ideas, but just wanted to know why Xianxia entered here. "Nonsense, someone is robbing it up there, and since this tower suddenly appeared here, maybe it's destined for me." Xianxia responded casually. She was only in the void refining stage, why did she compete with Lin Yu? She could suppress 3 5-element sect members in the tribulation crossing stage, but it was useless against others, and she was just seeking her own death. However, she couldn't possibly say such a reason. After all, there was a red boy fairy here. "Let's go into the tower." Xianxia fell down, led everyone to open the bronze door, and stepped straight into it. Strange, there is a similar aura here as in the Ascension secret realm. As soon as Xianxia appeared, she found something wrong. This was due to the blood moon power in Zhu Feng's body that spread through the pool water. It seems that this tower may really be an immortal weapon. Zhu Yun, you actually missed the immortal weapon," Xianxia said to herself, remembering that she saw Zhu Yun in this tower, but he let him run away. "I didn't expect that she would meet this tower again after a twist of fate." Red Boy and other female immortals who are in the tribulation period are also in various places. However, with their previous experience, they could probably find the direction to the second floor, so they rushed there in unison. "Master, there are so many changes, what should I do?" Zhou Pao looked at Zhu Yun, who was still motionless, looking extremely nervous. This tower appeared out of thin air, and he knew it was transformed by the sword in Zhu Feng's hand. But just now, 5 monks, 4 of them with strong momentum, also entered the tower. This reminded him of Zhu Yun's help, and he became a little confused. If he enters the pagoda, Zhu Yun will have no one to protect him. Moreover, he had no idea what was going on in the tower. Just when he was anxious and uncertain, another gray light struck, and Zhou Pao's expression changed again. But when he saw clearly that the gray light was Wan Po Tian, he couldn't help but look overjoyed. Help is coming. After looking at Zhu Yun, Zhou Pao immediately decided to go and inform Wan Potion. He turned around and appeared beside Wan Potion. "Brother Wan, the master is working hard to break the formation, and there is a person in this tower. The master asked me to save him." Zhou Pao recounted what happened previously in very short words. Wan Potion looked at the sky, then at the demon refining tower, and finally looked at Zhou Pao and said, "You mean, boy Zhu Yun is inside?" He couldn't see through the blood moon formation. But because Zhou Pao was able to control the power of the blood moon and because of his yin immortal roots, he could easily get out of it. Of course, if he wants to break the formation, it is absolutely impossible. Yes, the master is breaking the formation inside. He wants to activate the formation to control the power of the blood moon and stop the demon moon sect master. Wan Potion immediately said, "Okay, then leave this demon refining tower to me." Demon refining tower. When Wan Potion called out the name of this tower, Zhou Pao was overjoyed. Since he recognized this tower, his chances of success were greatly increased. "Brother Wan, I leave it to you. There are 4 people who are extremely powerful, no less powerful than the Demon Moon Sect Master. There is another person, although his level is not enough, his aura is extremely weird. Be careful in everything." Ha ha ha, I have regained my memory. What do these spiritual practices mean? I was in the spiritual world back then, and I never had any opponents. After saying that, Wan Potion stepped on the sword step and held the heavy sword in his hand. He ran to the demon refining tower, opened the bronze door and entered it. Zhou Pao breathed a long sigh of relief, and then sneaked back to Zhu Yun's side. An hour later, Wan Potion looked at the rocky mountain heading to the 2nd level and couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Damn it, who set up this formation here? I don't understand formations. He cursed and prepared to destroy the 5 elements trap spirit formation and the Dozwan star shifting formation with one sword strike. Just as he pulled out the sword, a ray of fire struck from a distance, and then landed lightly on his side. Fellow Taoist, you are very unfamiliar. When did you enter this tower? The red girl fairy smiled coquettishly. She thought that Wan Potion was also attracted by the demon refining tower, but when he entered the tower, the teleportation location was closer to the stone mountain. Wan Potion's eyes flickered, he put away the chaos sword, laughed, and said, "Fairy, meeting means we are destined, why don't you and I go together? I wish I could have wished for it. The red-haired fairy has a lively mind, maybe. This is her chance to break away from Xianxia's control. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1360. The red girl fairy's eyes were very poisonous, although she could not accurately see Wan Potion's realm. But Wan Potion is very powerful with his sword, especially the sword in his hand, which is definitely extraordinary at first glance. It is unheard of for a sword cultivator to have such a sword, and he must be an old monster practicing in seclusion. Fellow Taoist, there is a formation here, but you must follow the little girl. The red girl fairy took the initiative to walk forward and stepped into the 5 elements trap spirit formation. Where is this place? Has the fairy ever seen it? Wan Potion followed into the formation and saw the huge light pillar at a glance. He recognized it. This is the formation that 5 elements Sanren is good at. However, Zhu Yun had said that the 5 elements Sanren was killed by Ye Yuan, so it was naturally impossible for him to exist in the demon refining tower. But Wan Potion didn't know the origin of the demon refining tower. This was also his first time entering the tower. Since the red-haired fairy took the initiative, he was also happy to be prejudiced. "I've seen it before," the red girl fairy said without any concealment in order to gain Wan Potion's trust. "Before, several Taoist friends and I were searching for the inheritance of immortals in this secret realm. We had seen this tower before and thought it was there is an immortal inheritance, and he was later trapped in this tower." Wan Potion's eyes flashed with light, and he asked calmly, "Was the formation in it at that time? So how did the fairy get out of trouble?" Fellow Taoist, this formation is actually just a trapping formation and has no harming effect. There is also a formation behind it, which is used to hide the entrance to the next level. However, that formation has been destroyed. At first, this tower was in another place. The place suddenly appeared here. The little girl thought that this formation might be related to the immortal weapon. The red girl fairy led the way while recounting what she saw and heard at the time, until they reached the top of the mountain and saw the entrance to the second level. Fellow Taoist, below is the entrance to the formation. We were deceived by a young man named Zuyun earlier, and our journey was in vain. Wan Potion smiled and said, "This shows that that boy Zuyun is very cunning. Next time you meet him, be careful." At this point, he changed the topic and said, "But Fairy Hung Hai, didn't you say that there are some fellow Taoists who are easy to cross the tribulation with? How could you be deceived by him alone?" "It's a long story," the red girl fairy gave a wry smile and said, "We have people traveling with us, but there is another person who has 3 subordinates in the tribulation stage, and we loose cultivators are just like scattered sand. Who can if you don't obey anyone, you will naturally be taken advantage of. All you need to do to find Zuyun is to deceive Xianxia." "Xianxia? What realm is he in? Are he the 3 leaders of the tribulation stage?" "Exactly," the red-haired female fairy said bitterly, "Xianxia is only in the void refining stage, but she can order 3 people to transcend the tribulation stage. Just because she is the leader of the 5 elements sect." "What are you talking about? Isn't the leader of the 5 elements sect a Sanren of the 5 elements?" Even though Wan Potion knew that 5 elements Sanren was dead, he was truly shocked. "It's the 5 elements Sanren, but after the 5 elements Sanren was smashed to death by Yayuan in Tianweishan, Xianxia appeared out of nowhere and took over the position of the sect leader. Moreover, the 3 tribulation periods regarded him as a tiger and a wolf, and only followed his orders. Come to think of it, Xianxia Ding has some mysterious means to restrain those 3 people in the tribulation stage. The most important thing is that she is only a female cultivator with a single fire spirit root." Wan Potion was also shocked. The red girl fairy's guess was indeed reasonable. Back then, he had many battles with the 5 elements Sanren. The other party had many tricks, and the spiritual power of the 5 elements combined into one was extremely powerful, no less powerful than his Wuji swordsmanship. But it is not surprising to say that he died at the hands of Yayuan. But the position of the sect leader fell into the hands of the fire element Xianxia, which was really puzzling. While talking, the 2 of them had already stepped into the light door and reached the 2nd floor. From here, they can move forward straight to the 9th floor. The restrictions placed earlier have actually been destroyed. At this time, Xianxia finally arrived at the foot of the mountain with 3 people from the tribulation stage. They were not much slower than Wan Potion and Red Boy Fairy. "It seems like someone has been here." The aura of the red-haired fairy was felt by Xianxia. "You didn't wait for me." Xianxia raised her eyebrows and said calmly, "When I see her later, kill her directly." "Yes, Sect Master." Behind him, the 3 people in the tribulation stage said in unison. "However, we also need to be careful, lest she ambush at the entrance of a certain floor. This tower was previously called Tongtian Immortal Tower. Perhaps by the 9th floor, it can reach the sky." Xianxia guessed this. The 3 people in the tribulation stage didn't think anything of it. They were just a red-haired female fairy. As long as they joined forces, it was no problem at all. But I never thought that Wan Potion and the red girl fairy would be there together. At this time, Zuyun suddenly opened his eyes, showing excitement. I understand. Zhou Pao was shocked and quickly looked away from the demon refining tower and appeared. "Master, something has changed here." "What?" Zuyun looked away and asked in a deep voice. "Just now, a female cultivator entered the demon refining tower with 3 people in the tribulation stage, and then Mayor Wan also entered. Wan Potion is back." Zuyun was stunned for a moment, but then he remembered that he had snatched the chaos sword from Nujiao at that time. Although he couldn't guess the reason, he knew that Zhu Feng would have no problem. As for the female cultivator Zhou Pao mentioned about leading 3 people through the tribulation period, There is no doubt that she is Xianxia. It seems that I don't have to worry about Zhu Feng anymore, Zhu Yun said, but he ordered Zhou Daodao, you also enter the tower. If you can, help Wan Potion and Zhu Feng. We must protect them. Zhou Pao said seriously, Master, don't worry, but this tower, they entered it first, I'm afraid I won't be able to catch up. It doesn't matter, Zhu Yun smiled slightly, there is a mystery in this tower and the space is huge. I will tell you how to quickly enter the 9th floor. After a while, Zhou Pao ran towards the tower, while Zhu Yun looked up at the sky. In his eyes, the blood-colored covered bridge is nothing more than the power of the blood moon composed of fine formations. Get up and build a bridge. He raised his hand slightly, and the majestic power of chaos suddenly surged out of his hand. I saw that these forces of chaos were like the power of the blood moon, quickly building an overpass, running alongside the blood moon corridor bridge, and heading straight towards the blood moon. In this chaotic power, he has everything under control. The next moment, his figure flashed and he was already 10 feet high. Flash again, reappear. After burning the incense, he could clearly see Lin Yu, who was almost close to the blood moon immortal artifact. Zhu Yun, you didn't leave. When the chaos power bridge appeared, it had already attracted Lin Yu's attention. She was cautious, holding Yang Huoruyi in one hand while paying attention to the figure escaping from below. When he found out it was Zhu Yun, he was also shocked. Are you surprised or surprised? Zhu Yun stood in the chaos power bridge, raising his eyebrows and smiling, looking at Lin Yu from the distance. It seems that you were fooling me earlier. Boy, I shouldn't have believed you in the first place. If I didn't let you die in Qingping Immortal Kingdom, then you should die in the secret realm of Ascended Immortal. Lin Yu was too lazy to talk nonsense, so she took action and attracted a touch of blood moon power, blasting towards Zhu Yun. Zhu Yun laughed, Lin Yu, so what if you are in the tribulation stage? Now, this blood moon formation is actually my formation. As soon as he finished speaking, the power of the blood moon dissipated quickly and merged into the chaos power bridge. Your formation? What do you mean? Seeing this scene, Lin Yu had an unpleasant feeling in her heart. She quickly raised another blood moon force and shot it towards Zhu Yun like an arrow. I told you, you still don't believe it? Zhu Yun showed disdain and pinched the formation formula in his hand. This time, the blood moon corridor bridge disappeared directly, not only exposing Lin Yu to the air, but also the power of the blood moon of her envoy was once again integrated into the chaos power bridge as before. Zhu Yun, you are looking for death. Lin Yu was furious, and quickly gathered the power of the blood moon in her body, condensed it on her palm, and swatted at Zhu Yun. As long as you use the power of the blood moon, you will not be my opponent. Old God Zhu Yun is here, and he has pinched another formation in his hand. The blood moon corridor bridge that had just suddenly disappeared suddenly appeared out of thin air and completely enveloped the chaos power bridge. Dark red and gray seem to blend into one, but they are distinct. Lin Yu's attack fell into the blood moon corridor bridge, like water droplets falling into the sea, without even a single ripple. Now, Lin Yu panicked.